Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and welcome back to the channel. We are here for another mock draft video to help you guys out with your redraft season. Yes, NFL preseason is going on. We've got some great games. I know even sometimes it's just the backup players, but it's great to have the NFL season here. And again, these mock draft videos will help you guys kind of get prepared to see where players are falling and rising, and again, helping you guys out. So let's check it out. As you guys can see here, we're in the 10th spot of a full PPR 12-team league. If you guys haven't already, check out all the other videos as well, depending on where you are drafting, to help you kind of see where players are going. Look, with these drafts, I continue to always say, make sure you do as many mock drafts as you can before your actual draft is, because a lot of what you're going to find are players starting to rise and fall. And hopefully this analysis that I give you kind of helps you guys kind of figure out what is the best strategy for your roster. Now, of course, you guys know your league mates better than I do, so you may have some different strategies than I might have, but these hopefully are going to help you guys out. Now, we are in the 10th spot, which means we're going to start this draft, and I typically will try to go wide receiver in the first round and then running back in the second. I will always want to get a running back at least by the second round. Now, if a really good running back falls to me in the late first, absolutely steal them. But otherwise, you want to go wide receiver here, because most wide receivers, this is a premier spot. And looking at the options I've got here, you actually see a lot of wide receivers go. You got Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, St. Brown, Nakua, Neighbors, some really good options. And when you look at the options you've got here, now you could consider, well, you've got Derrick Henry, you got Genty, you got McCaffrey, Achane. You could even go the traditional way, which is what I love, the double hero running back strategy. That strategy for me has been the best way to win most multiple championships, because of the ability of such really limited amount of really top tier running backs when it comes to fantasy. Wide receivers, a lot more depth, right? You have a lot more options. And yes, a really top tier wide receiver can make a difference, but unless you're really in like the first 4 to 5 picks, sometimes it's not enough. I think sometimes justifying the double hero running back is the best way to go. So looking at the option here, the safe bet is, of course, Derrick Henry. He has been a monster, whether it was obviously with Tennessee or now with Baltimore. He is an absolute stud for this roster. Do I see them utilizing him as much as they did before? They could slightly lessen it. I do believe they love the receivers in Zay Flowers and Bateman. But looking at this here, I like the receivers I have here, but I'm going to go running back and get my boy Derrick Henry. It's a lot safer bet there, and I could go wide receiver in the second round, or again, go and get the running back. Now, you saw Achane go in the late first. Not as common. Typically, he falls in the second round. You see Nico Collins, J&T, Brian Thomas Jr., some really good options there. Now, the double hero running back strategy is, again, my biggest really strategy that I will go for. But in this case, I'm actually going to go grab a wide receiver in AJ Brown. Let me get my wide receiver 1. And then obviously I've got my running back there. I think that is a great strategy way this is going to go. Because again, if you're looking at getting the maximized points, you want that wide receiver 1 and that running back 1 in the first 2 rounds if you can, depending on where you are in this draft. Because realistically, if you're in the middle, you probably would go running back. But in this particular case, I want to get a top wide receiver there and then get my, I got my running back in my first. Now, you might start to see maybe the quarterbacks go in the second round. Maybe you'll see them in the third round. Like, that starts to be a more popular strategy as of late, especially when you got players like Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, maybe even Jalen Hurts. So those are starting to see a strategy I'm seeing a lot more lately. Now, for me, if you guys have watched any of my drafts videos or any of my analysis, I love getting a quarterback later in the draft if I can. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm in the late part of the third round and I can get maybe a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, it's really tempting. You probably have to go that route. Now, looking at the way I've got the roster built so far with the running back and wide receiver, I could go either position here, and it's going to be the best available position. Now, looking at the options here, we've got James Cook, Marvin Harrison. I can go maybe tight end, right? Get the three, the trifecta. Yes, Kittle's a great option, but I'm actually probably going to lean more towards the wide receiver role. The running back position is definitely one you want to try to grab. James Cook being here is a tempting one. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Buffalo. James Cook is right now currently kind of in a standoff trying to get his contract, squared away. So we're not sure. And I actually do believe in Ray Davis. I think they like him a lot too anyways. So I'm going to grab Marvin Harrison here because I think Marvin Harrison with paired up of an A.J. Brown, I like that one. Yes, there were a lot of question marks going into this season with Marvin Harrison, right? You're not sure, is he as good as everyone thought he was coming out of college? Part of it, I do think it's the offense. Kyler Murray's still kind of building that rapport. It does take a little bit of time. Marvin Harrison didn't have a horrible season. He just didn't have the season that we all had expected of his talent. I do believe in him. He's gained some muscle in the offseason. I like where he's at right there. Now you see Jalen Hurts and then Kittle. Now Kittle been here in the fourth, I would have grabbed him there because it's a really good spot to get a player like a Kittle. Now, in this case, I'm going to go probably tight end later because right now you're reaching for that particular spot. You want to get a tight end probably in the 6th or 7th round, depending on who is available, but you got to start filling out the rest of the roster. Now, as you can see, James Cook still dropped to me in the 4th round, and I do need a second running back. The other option you've got here is a Marion Hampton or maybe Kenneth Walker, and of course some other options. I'm not going to go wide receiver here. I'm not going to go quarterback here. You want to try to get your running back in this particular spot if you've already drafted your 2 wide receivers. Now, looking at the options here, James Cook is a safe bet if he does truly play. I'm actually going to end up going Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker is the better option when it comes to fantasy. Yeah, James Cook had an amazing season last year, but you have to understand he put up a lot of touchdowns, which really ballooned his stats and making him look like a really, really good fantasy running back. But realistically, you cut that down in half, right? Let's be honest. He's not going to have that type of performance every single year. You cut that down in half, I will take Kenneth Walker every single time. He is the better running back when it comes to that. Now, I've got obviously my running backs. I've got my wide receivers. Now you can start thinking tight end. Maybe you want to start thinking your flex. For me, at this particular point, now that I've got really the core of my roster built, I've got to go after the best particular player available. And sometimes that can be a quarterback. It can be a tight end. It can be another running back or wide receiver, whatever the case may be. And looking at the options, you start to look to see through here. You've got RJ Harvey, who might be the RB1, right? You got George Pickens in a new offense with Dak Prescott. We'll see how that blows up. Xavier Worthy, really good option. He's right now going to be the wide receiver 1 when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs with, Rice dealing with his issues. Or you can maybe go Travion Henderson. Really looks good so far. A lot of really good options. I'm actually going to go and get the speedster and Xavier Worthy because, again, I do think there's a lot of value in his upside. Is he going to be as good as Rashee Rice? No. But with Rashee Rice not being there, and then, of course, when he eventually gets there, Xavier Worthy still has some good options. And, again, that offense will always have, you got Patrick Mahomes at the quarterback position. Worthy has the option of getting some really solid games. He's not going to be always consistent, but he's going to get you some big games, especially in certain matchups. So again, he's my flex. I don't hate that move. Now, you saw a couple more running backs. I would have loved to have gotten Henderson here if I could have. You saw Travis Hunter. You got George Pickens. So again, really good players there. Looking at the running back position, I'm not in love with these. I could probably get another running back a little bit later that I might be able to get. So I'm going to continue to go and get another option. And I'm going to go wide receiver here, and I'm going to get Jalen Waddle. I haven't talked about Waddle enough, but Waddle is in, again, a good spot. The offense has some question marks, but realistically, Waddle is a potential top 20, 25 wide receiver. He's got the big playability. We're not sure what's going on with Tyreek Hill. Is he getting up there in age? Is he possibly getting traded? There's a lot of different things. I do think he plays his full season. I don't think he gets traded unless the Dolphins absolutely stink it up and the Dolphins start thinking about rebuild. I do think Hill's going to play the full year. But I still think Jalen Waddle has got a lot of upside. I think he has top 30 potential, and him being my 4th wide receiver is in a good spot there. Now, I didn't get another running back that I really wanted. I would love to have gotten a third running back where, maybe a Judkins or a Pollard or something like that. I didn't get those guys that I really, really wanted. But I still have some options like Tyrone Tracy I'm hoping to get to me, maybe a Travis Etienne because I think he still has some value. So really good options there. But I'm going to get my tight end here and get an Evan Ingram because I do need to get that particular spot filled. Evan Ingram is in a good spot for the Denver Broncos. Again, Sean Payton loved the tight end position. Evan Ingram is a 100-plus catch type of tight end. He has done that, and he's shown and proven it. So, again, I'd really like this offense for him. And now the running back position did not get picked up, which is perfect because I'm going to go grab Tyrone Tracy for the Giants. You could also go Travis Etienne. I don't hate either move if you did that, but I like Tyrone Tracy because he is considered the RB1. Yes, they got Scatabo, and we're not really sure how that's going to play out. We'll see some more options in the preseason and kind of what happens, but Tyrone Tracy did really good coming out his rookie year, and I still think he's going to be plenty of options, right? He's going to get passes his way. He's going to get some touches on the ground. Even if Scatterbo gets a few more than we had anticipate, I really still think Tyrone Tracy as a backup running back is a good option. Now, I've got 3 more bench players. I got my quarterback, kicker, and defense. Now, I'm not getting the quarterback in this particular round, but I got to start considering that because realistically, if I don't get him now, I'm going to get really screwed when it comes to that. Obviously, you see kind of a run of quarterbacks right here, which is pretty common in most strategies that I've seen. Again, quarterbacks are typically going around 7th to 8th round is where you start to see most of them. So in this particular spot, I think I could hold off one more round. I want to get more depth pieces. And looking at the depth pieces, you got Jaden Reed, Josh Downs, maybe a potential RB1 in Javonte Williams. As far as a roster, maybe one another backup tight end. You got Dalton Kincaid, Loveland for the Bears. So there's some definitely solid options here. Now looking at the options I do have here, the 3 that I like, I love Josh Downs. I think he's in a good spot. I do like Jaden Higgins. We're not really sure what's going on with all the wide receivers when it comes to the Texans, but I think Jaden Higgins is in a good spot. And then you could always reach and grab, J.K. Dobbins. I think he's probably my 3rd option here. But I'm actually going to go and grab Josh Downs. I think Josh Downs is in a good spot, even with the quarterback situation. We're not sure what's going on with Anthony Richardson. We're not sure what's going on with Daniel Jones. Either way, though, I think Josh Downs still is going to get plenty of targets his way. Yes, they've got Michael Pittman, and he's definitely kind of fallen off. I really liked Michael Pittman, really talented receiver, but unfortunately, I think the offense has just kind of changed, and the rapport is just not quite there with any of the quarterbacks right now. And I like Josh Downs just a slight bit better. Now, I am going to get my quarterback here because I do need to get one, and of the quarterbacks here, I can obviously get Dak Prescott, Stroud, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love. Yeah, you guys have seen my videos. You know who I'm going to go after. I'm going to get Dak Prescott because Dak Prescott is in the best particular spot to have a potential top 10 fantasy outing because of the offense that's there. The offensive line's getting healthier, and Dak has shown that he can be that type of quarterback. So I think a lot of people have forgotten about it, and he's been able to fall, and I'll take him every single time if I can if he's in that particular spot. So last pick positions I've got to get, kicker and defense, and of course I've got 2 more flex plays. Can you get a kicker here? Absolutely. Kickers are very important, don't get me wrong, especially depending on how you score out. They are still a player that you want to have on your roster that's going to put up points. I'm not going to particularly go that route because I still think there's other positions I could fill out. Maybe I get a backup tight end. Got Ferguson. Maybe I get a defense if I want. But this particular case, I'm going to get Tajay Spears. Yeah, he's dealing with an injury so far in preseason. That should go away probably about in a week or 2. As far as the kickoff of the season. So I like him as a nice little backup because he has done really well for the Tennessee Titans. They are going to use Pollard. They are going to use Spears. I think they're going to use both of those backs. And Spears has done a good job, and he showed last year that he could have some good games, right? And so, again, being that he's just a backup on my roster, I don't mind picking him up because what if type of scenarios do exist, and Spears could end up being a nice little stud there. Now, I am going to get a kicker here because I do want to get a little bit more points, and I'm going to get the Cameron Dicker here, the Chargers kicker, good kicker. He's got in a good offense, an offense that could have some stalls where maybe he has a lot more opportunities. And of course, he's going to be in an offense that's going to get some points down the field too, where obviously he's going to get those extra points. So I really like that spot there. I feel really good about them as my kicker. Now, defense, I'm going to go last. So I'm going to get a flex play here and look at the flex options here. I can, maybe get Christian Kirk, maybe Rashad Bateman, a couple options I like there. Maybe even like a Luther Burden. We're not sure how that's going to work out. But looking at the options here, I'm actually going to go and get Rashad Bateman because I love Bateman. He's done a really good job for the Baltimore Ravens. And again, he has really been rewarded for that. Now I've got to get my defense and looking at the options as far as defensives, look, of these options, Kansas City and probably the Jets are probably your best options when it comes to defense. I'm going to go New York Jets. Their players are a little bit, I would say, gel together. Kansas City's good, don't get me wrong, but I like the Jets defense just slightly a bit better. And I think they should put up enough points. Now, of course, I believe in waivers throughout the season, getting players or defensive special teams based off of matchups. So that's a really good strategy. So that is my draft for the 10th spot of a 12 team. So let's talk about it. All right, so that is the mock draft for the 10th spot of a 12-team full PPR league. Now, of course, if you have questions for how these drafts are going, maybe you have questions about players you're considering, let me know in the comments down below. And, of course, make sure you guys always ask away for the Dynasty stuff. We've got great Dynasty content coming as well. And, of course, we got some hidden gems, so make sure you check out that video as well. Now, again, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys just subscribe, like. Of course, check out all the other mock draft videos. Stay tuned, of course, when the season starts. We got your start, sit, and waiver wire videos throughout the whole season to get you guys prepared to head towards that championship. So again, subscribe, like, and I'll check you guys out next time.